Hi guys and welcome back to my channel Popcorn Reviews. I'm Farhad. If you are new to this channel then please smash that subscribe button now. And today we are going to be discussing which I believe in my humble opinion is one of the best 3D films that India has produced. And with that I'm going to be discussing the Kannada film Vikrant Rona, which had a pan-India release, and I happened to watch the Hindi version of it. So Vikrant Rona follows the story of an investigating officer who is investigating a weird set of events that are happening in a village. And the first thing that I noticed about the film was the incredible setup. That entire opening sequence in which the car is passing through with all the rain in that jungle. It just happened to be like such an intriguing setup, which was mysterious and filled with a lot of excitement, I would say. And this setup actually also reminded me of the Kannada film Rangi Taranga, which also was directed by Anup Bhandari, who's the director of Vikrant Rona. And there you will find similarities, not exactly related to the plot, but yeah, I mean the setup and even the elements of mythology that are used here are also present there, and that is again a mystery, a film that I had discovered during the first lockdown, and I absolutely had loved that film. I had enjoyed the complicated setup. Speaking of which, the complicated setup is present here as well, which is precisely why you need a lot of patience in the first half, because there are rewards to be had in the second half of this film. In the first half, there are many things that are going on. There are disappearance of children that are happening. There is an apparent superpower that is taking place somewhere in a abandoned house. There are elements of horror, there's also some elements of mythology, and there are many things that are going on in a structure that is not very coherent. So instead of guessing and starting the guessing game in the first half, I would suggest that just just keep up with all the events that are happening in the first half. Just keep up. That is, I think, very important, because there's a thread that ties each event in the second half, and there are Easter eggs to be found out in the second half, and there are multiple twists that are happening in second half. For that, you need to focus on the first half, which, by the way, also had some humor, which I felt was really not required. I felt the humor just was a little flat. This is a multi-genre setup. I mean, there are elements of horror, thriller, comedy, drama. You'll find, you name the genre and it'll be there. So if you're not used to this kind of setup, then you might take time to sink in. But because I watched Rangi Taranga, I think couple of years back, I am now, with the appetite that I have for movies, I have watched many films which have this complex type of a setup. The story is quite complicated here. The screenplay is also complicated. There are no easy questions to be had, no spoon feeding which is done. But the second half is when all the excitement becomes like a coherent route. It ties together basically. So there are twist after twist, and that is when you start the guessing game as to who the final culprit is. And the final culprit, also you may be able to guess, you may not be able to guess, but the events, the explanation that is as to why these things are happening, I think that was quite logical and quite something that I really enjoyed, and I didn't find it very far fetched. Or sometimes when that maybe the murderer or the in this case the supernatural or anything, whatever the element of surprise is, doesn't back it up with a logical reasoning that is there. I feel the reasoning sometimes just goes for a toss, and the surprise element just lies with the main reveal, the grand reveal, you can say. But here it is not the case. I think the grand reveal is equally good, as well as the reasoning behind it. I think the climax, that entire fight sequence that is there, is made in, it's cut in such a way that it will give you an impression that it is a one take, although it has minimal cuts, and I think it is very well done. The film, I think, is technically quite brilliant. Speaking of the technical elements, that is, I think it technically quite brilliant. It had a vision. When I talk of a vision in my reviews, usually in say reviews of Shamshera, which did not have a great vision, or RRR, which had a great vision, I think this lies right at the top. In terms of vision, I think it is one of the more magnanimous releases this year, coming from the Kannada industry, which is underrated in many aspects and goes under the radar, but is quietly doing its job and doing it well. So I felt even the dialogues that I hear, I think they are quite good, quite well received, except for the humor that is there. I think the humor is one element that did not work, and yeah, you will need patience in that first half. Speaking of which, again, director Anup Bhandari does a fabulous job here. I think the music is also pretty good and it backs the narrative that is there. Only thing is the songs just disrupt the flow of the drama every now and then, but it is such a visual spectacle with one of the best VFX and 3D that I've seen from on an Indian film, that that just tilted its favor towards something that is good. And my focus was not so much on the flaws that the film already had. My focus was on the delight. Which, speaking of which, I think this film is a big screen film, and I highly recommend watching it on the big screen in 3D. I think this 3D should not be missed, and this movie will definitely not have the same kind of impact on OTT as it is on the theatrical release. I felt even the performances, speaking of which, the performances are pretty good. Kiccha Sudeep, I think he just owned every scene, every damn scene. He had style, he had demeanor, and he just knew exactly how much to expose, how much not to expose himself. And his character also keeps you guessing certain part in the second half, I would say, just without giving any spoilers. Nipun Bhandari does a fabulous job. Excellent. He's, I think, very well restrained and does a fabulous job as well. Even Neeta and Milni, I think both of them, they do a pretty good job as well. All the other characters, I think, without naming who's who, I don't want to give any spoilers. I want to keep this review as vague as possible and not go into the nitty gritties of it. But all the other characters are pretty good, as they've enacted their roles very well. And one more thing that I missed during the screenplay was that the use of weather, I think, is very well received. The weather that is there. In starting, you will see that it is raining, it is stormy. That entire setup is such that there's an element of mystery to it, but at the end, it just opens to sunshine, and it there isn't rain in the vicinity. So that, I think, weather played an important part, like in Rangi Taranga as well. I think weather was an important element in this film. So do I recommend it? I highly recommend it. Please, please do yourself a favor and watch it on the main screen, big screen, on the biggest screen possible, and in 3D. This movie probably will also be there next weekend, so please make yourselves a trip to the theater and watch it. There's no major release that is coming next week, except for that Dulquer Salman film and couple of other Hollywood films. Please go and watch it. And if you're liking this video, please smash that like button. Please let me know what is your take on the film in the comment section. Also, let me know if there are any other films that you want me to recommend. Also, if you would like to read my full review of Vikrant Rona on my site, Popcorn Reviews with a double S, the link of which is in the description box below, please do visit it. And yes, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me a lot. I am a small creator, and I'm working really hard, by the way, and managing two things gets a little difficult at times, YouTube as well as my site, but I am managing it. So please help me out as well. I need every bit of your support. And yes, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Letterboxd. All the links are in the description box below. So then let me know your thoughts on the film. So then until next time, thank you so much.